From time to time, an animated movie emerges that breaks the ceiling of just a cartoon to become a real work of art. In 1997, that movie was Princess Mononoke. The brainchild of Hayao Miyazaki, the movie launched Studio Ghibli into an international spotlight, becoming one of the most acclaimed animated works of all time and permeating cultures around the world. So just how did Miyazaki conceive of this beast of a movie? I'm Joey with ChannelFrederator, and today we're going back to the humble origins of Mononoke Hime and watching as worlds collide with its American release. So whether you're a diehard fan or just wondering what all the fuss is about, we've got something for everyone as we count down the 107 facts about Princess Mononoke. Let's get started. Fact number 1. Princess Mononoke was written and directed by the one and only Hayao Miyazaki and animated by Studio Ghibli. It was released in 1997. Number 2. It is the 9th film released by Studio Ghibli, following 1995's Whisper of the Heart. Number 3. To anyone unfamiliar with this movie, no, it is not about a princess named Mononoke. The title is a half translation from the Japanese title, Mononoke Hime, which translates to Spirit Princess or Monster Princess. Number 4. The idea for a Princess Mononoke can be traced back as far as the 1970s to the first time Miyazaki sketched up a film about a princess living with a beast in the woods. Number 5. In 1980, Miyazaki wrote the first version of the story called Mononoke Hime. This original version revolved around a giant mountain cat who turns into a monster, and a girl named San no Hime, meaning the third princess, who is the third daughter of a warrior. The character in this story also flew around clouds. Why not? Number 6. By the way, if that flying around on clouds deal sounds familiar, it's because Miyazaki adapted that concept into My Neighbor Totoro. Number 7. After Whisper of the Heart, Miyazaki had a choice between two projects to take, either Boro the Caterpillar, about a caterpillar making its way on a journey down the street, or a Japanese historical adventure film that he had always wanted to pursue. Princess Mononoke is clearly not about caterpillars, so of course he chose the second. Boro the Caterpillar is actually in production right now as Studio Ghibli's first CGI short. Number 8. Miyazaki's producer, Toshio Suzuki, convinced Miyazaki to create Princess Mononoke using these 3 arguments. 1. Miyazaki was getting older and he soon wouldn't have enough energy to make the movie. 2. Much of the staff at Studio Ghibli was at their golden age of their abilities. And 3. Ghibli had enough money at the time to tackle a big project. Good points. Number 9. Miyazaki officially began development back in August 1994. At the time, he was working on it all by himself. Oof, that's lonely. Number 10. While struggling to figure out the story of Mononoke, Miyazaki began working on a new project called On Your Mark. It allowed him to clear his head and redevelop an original concept from scratch. Number 11. In 1995, before production started up, Miyazaki brought the main production team to Yakushima Island, which he wanted to use as the basis of scenery in the movie. The goal of the trip was to get the staff to understand the look and feel of the primitive setting. Number 12. According to his original proposal for the film, Miyazaki wanted Princess Mononoke to depict that, despite the hatred and carnage of war, life is still worth living, and that it's possible for wonderful encounters and beautiful things to exist. Number 13. When planning the film, Miyazaki outlined 5 key issues that he wanted it to cover. 1. Young people feel emptiness in their minds. 2. Regardless of their daily good or bad behavior, the lives of many Japanese, especially those of young people, are often involved in inexplicable unfairness. 3. The relationship between human beings and Mother Nature has changed. Often, humans forget the fact that Mother Nature has allowed human beings their existence in this world. 4. An increasing number of incidents have occurred based upon the ugly side of human nature, fighting, instinct, and hatred. And 5. Coexistence and conflict between rationalism and attraction to mystery within a same society and or one person. Number 14. According to Miyazaki, creating Princess Mononoke was a huge risk for the studio. However, it was one that he was compelled to take after making Porco Rosso. It was impossible, he said, to go back and make another Kiki's Delivery Service after delving into such real subject matter, which is what ultimately led to the darker themes in Mononoke. Number 15. There were 2 titles under consideration for the film. The first was, of course, Princess Mononoke. The second was The Legend of Ashitaka. Number 16. The film is set during the Muromachi Era, which is approximately from the 1300s to the 1500s. Miyazaki chose this time period because it was the dawn of an industrial and cultural revolution that greatly changed man's relationship with nature. Number 17. Despite the specificity of the setting, Miyazaki did not aim to create an accurate depiction of the time period. I mean, we have no documented yakuras anymore after all. Instead, he wanted to focus on the feeling of the conflicted and confused feeling of the era, which he feels transcends into modern days. Number 18. During the production, character sketches and concept designs were strewn across the walls of the studio in order to keep everyone fully aware of the nuances of the project. Number 19. To ensure that the movie's action looked realistic, Miyazaki would sometimes have his employees act out the action of a scene while he timed it with a stopwatch. This allowed him to recreate it frame by frame with the correct timing. Now that's attention to detail. Number 20. About 15 minutes worth of computer graphics were incorporated into Mononoke, most of them used for digital painting. The remaining time was used on computer-generated imagery and composition. Number 21. The final storyboards of the movie were finished just months prior to its release. I guess some people do work better under pressure. Number 22. By the end of Mononoke's production, Miyazaki had exhausted his animators, and of course, their work shows, but he knew they had to push through to make the film a reality. Number 23. Ashitaka is played by Yoji Matsuda. Matsuda is no stranger to Miyazaki's work. He appeared in Nausicaa all the way back in 1984. Number 24. Miyazaki says that a huge part of Ashitaka's character is fighting a lonely war. He's constantly saving people, but is never seen doing so, or given appreciation for his efforts. Being a hero is a thankless job. Number 25. According to Miyazaki, he and Ashitaka have a lot in common. They are not naturally cheerful people, but more melancholy and fatalistic. Miyazaki says Ashitaka is the first character he's created that he can relate to in this way. Number 26. Miyazaki believes that Ashitaka's use of evil powers as a good guy illustrates the struggle between good and evil that's within everyone, since no person is fully one or the other. Number 27. Miyazaki created Yakuru because he felt it would be easier to draw an imaginary animal than a real animal, and he didn't want the image of Ashitaka riding Yakuru to be evocative of samurai, because Ashitaka is not a samurai. Number 28. Yakuru greatly resembles another creation of Miyazaki's from 1983's The Journey of Shuna. Shuna's ride, Yakuru, appears to be a red elk as well. Sneaky, Miyazaki. Number 29. Actually, a lot of elements of Ashitaka's journey seem to be drawn from The Journey of Shuna. Shuna is also a young prince riding along with a red elk who meets with an elderly man to try to save his village. Number 30. Jiko Bo is played by Kaoru Kobayashi. Kobayashi has also been featured in Tales from Earthsea and Quill, The Life of a Guard Dog. Number 31. Miyazaki first came up with Jiko Bo without knowing what role he would play in the story. Options included a government spy, a religious henchman, a ninja, or just a very good guy. In the end, he became a little bit of everything. Number 32. An original sketch of Jiko Bo shows him as the leader of the iron manufacturers and with only one eye. Always wear your safety goggles, kids. Number 33. Yuko Tanaka voices Lady Eboshi. Like Kobayashi, she had previously appeared in Tales from Earthsea. Number 34. Lady Eboshi resembles a shirabyoshi, a Japanese dancer dressed in men's clothing. Number 35. The original idea of Lady Eboshi came from the legend of a beauty named Tate Eboshi, who vanquished an oni named Akuro-o, and that Hayao Miyazaki's mountain cabin is in the village of Eboshi. Both a complex and simple explanation. Number 36. One possible backstory that Miyazaki thought up for Lady Eboshi was that she was sold abroad to a Chinese pirate boss, and she trained herself to hone her skills and kill him, take his treasure, and sail back to Japan. Please be true. Number 37. Tsunehiko Kamijo voices Eboshi's bodyguard, Gonza. Kamijo had previously worked with Miyazaki on Porco Rosso and went on to work with him again in Spirited Away. Number 38. Princess Mononoke herself, San, is voiced by Yuriko Ishida. She's also been in From Up on Poppy Hill, which was written by Hayao Miyazaki and directed by his son, Goro. Number 39. San's name is Japanese for 3, and refers to the fact that she is the third of Moro's children. Number 40. To add to the ferality of her character, Miyazaki wanted San to move like a mountain dog, so his head animator did research in animal encyclopedias to figure out how to make this apparent in her movement. Number 41. There's a popular fan theory that the wolf skin that San wears is actually that of Moro's cub, given to her when she was adopted by the wolf. It's never been confirmed, but how messed up would that be? Number 42. The ox driver, Koroku, was voiced by Masahiko Nishimura, who also appeared in Miyazaki's The Wind Rises. Clearly, Miyazaki likes to keep his posse close. Number 43. Koroku's wife, Toki, was voiced by Sumi Shimamoto, who was Nausicaa in Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. Number 44. The voice of Moro was done by Akihiro Miwa. He's also appeared in the Studio Ghibli film Howl's Moving Castle, as well as voicing Arceus in the 2009 Pokemon movie. Number 45. Early storyboards show that originally Shishigami was going to kiss Moro's wound to remove the bullet from her body and revive her. Number 46. In the original character designs for the movie, there was a Chinese monk named Anmin, who is said to be one of the main characters. Number 47. In typical Japanese mythology, wolves are are masculine and cats are feminine. Casting seems to be an inside joke about Akihiro Miwa's career as a female impersonator. Number 48. When Miyazaki was growing up, he used to visit the local town blacksmiths and was impressed and inspired by the work they did. However, after he learned about the manufacturing process and the effect it has on nature, he began to see it in a different light. Ultimately, it came to only inspire the themes in Mononoke. Number 49. Iron Town, also known as Tataraba, was inspired by the work of John Ford, of whom Miyazaki was a big fan. Number 50. Miyazaki believed that placing Iron Town under male leadership would be boring. According to him, male leadership would not be considered revolutionary. Female leadership, on the other hand, would, particularly in that time period. Number 51. Miyazaki chose not to put children in Iron Town, even though they were probably there, because he wanted to show that the town was not yet in the settling down phase. Number 52. The clothes of the emishi are actually based on the native wardrobe of Bhutan. Number 53. The gold nugget that Ashitaka uses to pay for his rice is reddish gold, rather than a traditional yellowish gold. This is because there is an old legend that says in Tohoku, where Ashitaka is from, they produced reddish gold dust. Number 54. Some of the creatures in the movie, like the Kodama, are inspired by Japanese folklore. Others, like San herself, are inspired by more Western influences, like Romulus and Remus, from Greek and Roman mythology. Number 55. Watch the positions of the characters' obis, or belts. Ashitaka wears his up on his waist, which shows his youth and immaturity. Most of the characters wear it lower down, and Jigo wears his in a very low position, because he has the most age and experience. Number 56. Here's an example of the perfectionist that is Hayao Miyazaki. For the scene in which Ashitaka falls outside Moro's cave, Miyazaki spent half a day redrawing the animation because he didn't feel it was awkward enough. Number 57. There's a commonly cited line that Miyazaki personally drew about 80,000 frames in the movie, but according to him, there's no basis for that. Number 58. This film lacks one of Miyazaki's trademarks, flying. This is because people kept pointing it out to him that his movies had a lot of flying, and he wanted to switch it up. Number 59. Miyazaki was reluctant to end the movie with the war between the Forest and Irontown people. According to him, it was too simplistic of an ending, and one that was untrue to how many wars are fought. Number 60. One potential ending involved a sudden samurai group appearing and destroying everyone. Miyazaki didn't care how abrupt this was, since that's how the real world works. He did seem to care enough to use another ending though. Number 61. During production, there was some doubt as to whether or not they could keep this movie down to a 2-hour runtime. One producer worried that, with San not even introduced until 20 minutes in, it could run up to 3 hours long. However, Miyazaki reassured her that he was skilled enough to keep it short, sweet, and to the point. Number 62. Apparently short, sweet, and to the point is 2 hours and 15 minutes long. That's the longest of all Miyazaki's films. Number 63. The movie was advertised using some of the more intense and shocking moments, which Miyazaki said was not only a marketing technique, but a way of showing parents what kind of movie it was and what their kids would be in for. Number 64. Initially, Miyazaki found that the movie might be unfit for children, but he came to realize that children, in their innocence, would be able to understand the themes better than the adults. Number 65. The main theme song of the film is performed by Yoshikazu Mera in the Japanese version and Sasha Lazard in the American version. Number 66. The movie was composed by frequent Studio Ghibli collaborator Joe Hisaishi. Compared to his soundtracks in previous movies, Mononoke's is fittingly darker and more mature. Number 67. To communicate the vision of the film to Joe Hisaishi, Miyazaki wrote him a series of poems, one for each character or thematic element of the story. Number 68. Koji Hoshino, president of Walt Disney International Japan, was among the first to recognize the growing popularity of Studio Ghibli films and their potential success with an international audience. He shared his feelings with Michael O. Johnson, the head of Disney International, who agreed, thus sparking the distribution deals. Number 69. Disney entered the distribution agreement in 1996, before Princess Mononoke had actually finished production. The storyboards weren't even done yet. That's some real faith. Number 70. When Michael O. Johnson first saw a screening of the movie, he was rendered speechless. Good sign. He then said, "Wow, that was different. Different could be good." Then he asked if they could make it less violent. Okay, maybe not so good, but fixable. Number 71. Japanese distributors initially warned Miyazaki about releasing the film with a full dub in America and insisted that they just do a subtitled edition, but Miyazaki said no, and the rest is history. Number 72. In the US, Princess Mononoke was distributed by Miramax. Miramax has also been behind classics like Pulp Fiction and Clerks, as well as helping bring over several of the Pokemon movies. Number 73. Princess Mononoke was localized into English by sci-fi author Neil Gaiman, who is best known for writing the Sandman series of graphic novels. Number 74. When Neil Neil Gaiman was first brought onto the project, he asked to see a video clip of the film but was denied. Instead, they made him go to a screening. He went, doubting that he would actually say yes. The film itself begged to differ. Number 75. Surprise, surprise, Gaiman said yes. In addition, part of his motivation to do so was knowing that if he said no, they'd probably find someone else who would actually do the job just for a paycheck with no love or respect for the film. Number 76. Before Gaiman, Quentin Tarantino was actually approached to pen the English script. He turned it down and referred Gaiman to the job instead. Number 77. Gaiman didn't translate the movie, he localized it. He was given a direct translation by Stephen Alpert and then had to convert words into phrases and interactions that would make sense to an American audience while keeping the message of the movie. Number 78. If localizing sounds easy to you, here's an example to prove you wrong. Gaiman would have direct translations such as his head is mine, but because of the difference in dialect, it'd be unclear if it meant he's mine to kill, or literally, I'm going to be keeping his head. Subtle changes like that are how things end up lost in translation. Number 79. Neil Gaiman was not allowed to use certain words in his script so as to not create a cultural barrier. For instance, sake had to be changed to wine, and they couldn't mention anything about China or Japan. Samurai was fine though. Number 80. Gaiman says that at one point, Miramax was sending him script notes, and Studio Ghibli was sending him completely contrary notes, so he actually wrote two different versions of the script and had them compromise. Number 81. Disney's contract with Japanese publishing company Tokuma Publishing explicitly stated that they were allowed to dub the movie, and that's it. No content cuts or anything, even for violence. Despite this, Disney still attempted to pressure Tokuma to make some changes, but it was all in vain, thankfully. Number 82. For the casting of the English dub, seasoned actors were hired rather than typical VO artists in some cases, in order to help convey sophistication and subtext of the material. Number 83. In the American version, Ashitaka is voiced by Billy Crudup. Crudup has also appeared as Dr. Manhattan in Zack Snyder's adaptation of The Watchmen. Number 84. Leonardo DiCaprio was originally considered for the role of Ashitaka, and talks actually got pretty far with him before he dropped down. If he hadn't, with Claire Danes as San, it would have been Romeo plus Juliet all over again. Number 85. Jigo was voiced by Billy Bob Thornton. Thornton has had a long career spanning roles in Fargo and Armageddon, as well as voice acting roles in American Dad, Robot Chicken, and Cat Dog. Number 86. Thornton often came in late to the recording studios, and at times his lines had to be reworked to better suit him. Classic Jigo move. Number 87. Lady Eboshi was voiced by Minnie Driver. Debatably, Driver's biggest role is in Good Will Hunting, another Miramax joint, but you may also recognize her as Jane from Disney's Tarzan. Big departure from Lady Eboshi there. Number 88. In Tarzan, Driver got to improvise a good share of her lines because the writing was more generic. In Princess Mononoke, however, she had to stick strictly to the words and timing in order to match the characters' mouths. Number 89. Neil Gaiman had always intended for Lady Eboshi to have an icy British voice. Had he failed to get Minnie Driver, he would have rallied for Kristen Scott Thomas or Helena Bonham Carter, aka the Queen of Icy Britishness. Number 90. Gonza was voiced by a VO artist who needs no introduction, John DiMaggio. You may recognize him from just about everything you've ever watched. He's known best nowadays as Jake from Adventure Time and Bender from Futurama. Number 91. Homeland's Claire Danes played the Beast Princess herself. At the time, however, she was probably better known for her role as Juliet in Romeo plus Juliet. Number 92. Koroku was played by anime VO veteran John DeMita. DeMita has provided his voice to Naruto, Hunter x Hunter, and Castle in the Sky. Number 93. The voice of Toki is none other than Jada Pinkett Smith, right when she first became Jada Pinkett Smith. Number 94. Moro was voiced by Gillian Anderson of X-Files fame. This casting loses some of the character the Japanese casting had, but come on, it's Gillian Anderson. Number 95. Okoto Nushi, or just Okoto in the American dub, was voiced by Keith David, who also narrated the film. Keith David has been acting a long time, but some recent roles include the Flame King in Adventure Time, as well as stints on Community and Rick and Morty. Number 96. Gaiman says the ending of the movie is very un-Western, given its ambiguity and lack of a triumphant finish. He feels that in an otherwise identical Western-made version of the film, it would end with San and Ashitaka returning to the village to much fanfare and rejoicing, and probably medals. Number 97. Over a period of 9 months, the American team tried and failed to properly translate the title, before determining that no word perfectly described Mononoke. Thus, they decided to leave it in Japanese. Number 98. The American dub was so well received that it was actually re-imported back into Japan with Japanese subtitles. Full circle. Number 99. A short documentary, Princess Mononoke in USA, outlines Miyazaki's experience traveling to America to promote the film, and the American media's newfound interest in Japanese cinema. Number 100. Neil Gaiman and Miyazaki never actually even met until the very end of production, at which point Miyazaki told him that he was very pleased that he had permitted the American dub. When Miyazaki is happy with your work, you know you done good. Number 101. Miyazaki actually hasn't seen the English cut of the film, and doesn't intend to. He feels as though if he does, he'll start drawing comparisons, and he doesn't want to do that. Number 102. Princess Mononoke is the first of a string of complicated movies that left Miyazaki wiped out. This, Spirited Away, and Howl's Moving Castle, which is why they decided to change direction with Ponyo. Number 103. There's a common belief that Princess Mononoke is, in part, an allegory for leprosy. You know, the scene with the patrons who have nowhere else to go. Well, Miyazaki has actually confirmed that this theory is true. Number 104. At a whopping 2.4 billion yen to produce, approximately $20 million, Princess Mononoke was not only the most expensive Studio Ghibli film, but one of the most expensive animated films ever. For comparison, Akira costs just 1 billion yen. Number 105. Princess Mononoke grossed over $2.3 million in the United States and almost 160 million total worldwide. Not bad for a cartoon. Number 106. Princess Mononoke also became the top grossing film of all time in Japan. It was eventually trumped by Titanic, and now sits at 7th place behind Howl's Moving Castle, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Frozen, Spirited Away, and Makoto Shinkai's Your Name. And number 107. Hayao Miyazaki was just as baffled by the film's success as anyone else. None of Studio Ghibli's films up to that point had been as successful, and many of them haven't even made their budgets back right away. Thanks for watching 107 Facts about Princess Mononoke. Do you prefer the American or Japanese version? Which part of the process did you find most compelling? Anything we missed? Let us know in the comments below. We have new videos dropping every week, so let us know which animated film or TV show you want us to cover next. And if you like getting more from your cartoons, subscribe to Channel Frederator, because remember, Frederator loves you.